Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Commentary Hub's alternative audio coverage of the FA Cup third round draw. I'm your alternative host, Nicholas Jones, and I will be guiding you through the draw, and we get to see who will play who. As it is the third round, it is when the big boys in the Premier League and the Championship join in the FA Cup, and for the sides that have advanced through to the third round, this will give them the chance to show what they're really made of against the Premier League. Remember, over the years, lower league sides have beaten Premier League clubs in the past, including the likes of Sutton United, Lincoln City, and Bradford City, and the list goes on. So we're now going to recap the FA Cup second round results, and this is across all competitions, starting with Harrogate Town winning 1-0 against Gainsborough Trinity on Friday. The Saturday results: Accrington Stanley 2, Swindon Town 2, Barnsley 0, Bristol Rovers 0, Cambridge United 1, Wigan Athletic 2, Crawley Town 3, Lincoln City 4, Exeter City 2, Chesterfield 0, Leyton Orient 2, Oldham Athletic 1, Morecambe 1, Bradford City 0, Peterborough United 4, Notts County 3, Salford City 2, Cheltenham Town 0, Stevenage 0, Mansfield Town 1, Stockport County 3, Brackley Town 1, Walsall 0, Charlton Athletic 4, AFC Wimbledon 1, Dagenham and Redbridge 2, and finally, the earlier kickoff: Wealdstone 0, Wycombe Wanderers 2. And the results from yesterday are as follows. The earlier match was Kettering Town 1, Doncaster Rovers 2, Blackpool 1, Birmingham City 2, Burton Albion 1, Tamworth 1, and Tamworth won 4-3 on penalties. We will mention Tamworth again later on in the programme. Reading 5, Harborough Town 3, and Solihull Moors 1, Bromley 2. So this will be for the Premier League and Championship sides, this will be an interesting round for them as well. Arsenal currently hold the record for most FA Cup victories with 14. Manchester United's victory last season brought them to 13, just behind Arsenal. So there is a chance they could equalise. Other Premier League clubs worth looking out for include the likes of Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle, West Ham, Fulham, and so on. In the Championship, Portsmouth, two-time winners, currently rock bottom of the Championship. And the leaders in the Championship are Sheffield United, with Burnley in second and Leeds United in third. And the ties of the third round will be played over the weekend of Saturday, the 11th of January. And Media Radio Jingles and Gaming has chipped in a few things. He says, "Good evening, Nick. Looking forward to the FA Cup draw tonight. Really looking forward to seeing who the Premier League team, specifically Arsenal, as I am an Arsenal fan, get in the draw of this magical FA Cup. Well, let's see who the Gunners of Arsenal will get in the third round." Mike Harneman will likely agree with you on that one. So we just wait momentarily. and the draw is taking place at Old Trafford, home of Manchester United, and the men drawing the balls out of the bowl for the third round are Mark Hughes and Dion Dublin. We'll be mentioning more of them, Alyssa. We'll be mentioning more of them closer to the time. And I'm actually glad, and I've actually got Ross Vernon with me inside the studio. Ross, good evening. How do you see which clubs have impressed you most throughout the FA Cup so far, particularly in the first and second round?
Well, good evening, Nicholas. Good evening, Media Radio, Jingles and Gaming. Good evening, everybody. It's going to be some of the ties that have been played so far. I'm impressed with Bromley in their game against Solihull Moors yesterday. I thought they put up a really good fight and just got through there. Dagenham and Redbridge did well to get through on Saturday evening against AFC Wimbledon as well. I felt Arbor Town was very unlucky, Nicholas, yesterday against Reading, narrowly losing out to the League One side after extra time. Put up a really good fight. Did Arbor Town yesterday. Harrogate showing some really good steel for them to get through, and you just got to look at Leighton Orient as well. It looked like they were going to be knocked out by Oldham Athletic, but for their goalkeeper to step up and equalise, to take it to extra time, and then on loan Leedsman Sonny Perkins involved with the match winner in extra time, added time, right to the very depth, which says it looked like was getting to penalties. I just want to say, Nicholas, I know you did a good job, a commentary of the weekend between Wealdstone and Wycombe Wanderers, and I thought, Nicholas, you did absolutely fantastic there. Wealdstone put up a really good fight, just fell short against Wycombe Wanderers at the weekend. And I thought Kettering played well against Doncaster yesterday, but just didn't prevail in the end there as well. So, and it'd be interesting to see how my team Leeds get. Normally Leeds at this sort of stage get an away tie somewhere in London or a Premier League tie. We were only last season where we got drawn at home to Plymouth, where we hadn't got an away tie in the FA Cup since we've been playing in it for the past few seasons. So we need to see what Leeds get in the next round, in this round, and see if it's going to be another home tie or whether it'll be the traditional away tie that will be for Daniel Farker's men.
Well, things might change this year. You don't know, but one thing I've also got to touch on is one thing I've also got to touch on is we've had the same all Manchester final for 2 years. Could there be a third? Do you think there may likely be a third one this year?
With the way Man City are playing at the moment, Nicholas, it's hard to say yes to that question. We know Pep Guardiola can change things around. We know City can normally come good, but the way they're playing at the moment, I'd have to say no based on the way Man City have played so far this season. But FA Cup, anything can happen, and we could see a change in Man City's fortunes in that competition. But we'll have to wait and see, and be interesting to see if they're given an home tie or an away tie as well, and whether they can hold on to leads, which they've not really done this season.
Yeah, and speaking of Manchester United, what would you say? How would you rate with Ruben Amorim stepping in as new manager? How's he adjusted to life at Old Trafford?
He's done fairly well so far. Nicholas scored a draw against Ipswich in his opening game of the season, in his opening game as Manchester United boss. He then took on Bodo Glimt in Europa League, got to win there, and then the one of the weekend against Everton. I know people may look at that and just say it's only Everton, they struggle near the bottom every single season, but Everton are a really good side, and you can see that Everton have got some good plays on the books, and I know he looked a comfortable game when you look at just the scoreline, but from some of the highlights I've seen from that game at Old Trafford, it wasn't a foregone conclusion for Ruben Amorim's side. Yes, they had to work for the victory. Yes, I know it was 4-0, but they had to work to get those scores. It wasn't just like a Everton just rolled over like some teams would probably expect, or some players and ex-players and pundits and fans would have probably expected Everton to do. So, be interesting to see whether that is the going to be the case this time around if he continues in the same vein up against tougher opposition and whoever they get in this draw for the FA Cup as well, which is coming up very shortly.
All right, thanks for now, Russ. We'll chat to you a bit later. So we're just about a couple of minutes away from the third round draw of the FA Cup, and as Russ said, plenty of clubs that have sparked an interest, including the likes of Tamworth and Dagenham and Redbridge. They are the only two non-league sides left in the competition. Although that is to say, the remaining non-league sides did actually hold their EFL opponents quite well, including Leyton Orient and Harborough Town. So we're just about a few minutes away from the draw. We're going to take and I'm just having a look at Tamworth's number. It's number 53. They are managed by Andy Peaks, and we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back before this. But we'll be right back just before the draw takes place. Welcome back to the Commentary Hub's alternative audio coverage of the FA Cup third round draw. And just to remind you, the draw is being done by Dion Dublin and Mark Hughes. Dion Dublin, a Premier League player in the 1990s. Mark Hughes, also a legendary player for Manchester United, and he later went on to manage the likes of Stoke City and Bradford City. And Mark Hughes was also one of the was also part of the side that won the cup for Manchester United in 1990. So we're now just a couple of minutes away from the balls to be put in to be put into the bowl. Mark and Dion just going through last minute interviews. Mark Hughes actually won the cup 4 times with Manchester United and Chelsea. And just waiting for a little background information on Dion Dublin. And I can now reveal that Dion was an FA Cup finalist with Aston Villa in 2000. And Mark will be drawing the home sides, and Dion will be drawing the away sides. So now let's take a look at some of the selected numbers. Arsenal are in at number 2, 14 times cup winners, as I mentioned earlier. Chelsea also in there as well. They're number 10. Number 20 is Liverpool, the current Premier League leaders. Manchester City and Manchester United at number 22 and number 23. They reached the final last season. And number 40 is Tottenham Hotspur, winners of the cup in 91. Salford City is number 5. Then at number 50, Dagenham and Redbridge. Tamworth at number 53. And so on and so forth. So now the balls are being placed into the bowl. Dion shaking them out of the bag and rattling them around. So just want to make sure that all the balls are out. And we are good to go for the third round draw of the FA Cup. Mark Hughes swirling the balls around, and the first ball to come out of the bowl, number 36. And number 36 is Southampton at St Mary's. They will be up against number 39, which is Swansea City. So unofficial seaside derby there. Number 2 is Arsenal, who I mentioned just now. And at the Emirates, the Gunners will face number 23. And number 23, Manchester United. So an iconic tie already, and we're only 2 ties in. Next ball out is number 47, and number 47 is Exeter City. At St James's Park, the Grecians will host number 29. Number 29 is Oxford United, first season in the Championship. Number 48 is the next ball to be picked out, and that is Leyton Orient. Beat Oldham Athletic in the second round. And the O's will be up against number 13, Derby County, winners in 1946. Leyton, and number 62 is the next ball out. That's Reading at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. The Royals will get number 8, Burnley. So Reading against Burnley should be interesting. Number 3 is Aston Villa. And the Villains will be up against number 43. Number 43 is West Ham United. Number 27 is the next ball out. And number 27, Norwich City. The Canaries will be hosting number 6. And number 6, Brighton and Hove Albion, having a really good season in the Premier League, currently 4th. Number 22 is the next ball out, and that is Manchester City. Manchester City will be up against, at the Etihad Stadium, number 45, and that is Salford City. So, an unofficial Manchester derby. Could be a game worth keeping an eye on. And the next ball out, number 25. Number 25 is Millwall. The Lions will host number 50, Dagenham and Redbridge. Could Dagenham and Redbridge make it 3 in a row? Number 20 is Liverpool, the Premier League leaders. And the Reds will host number 51, and that is Accrington Stanley. Should be an easy one for Arne Slot's men, although you never know. Number 7 is Bristol City. At Ashton Gate, they get number 44, which is Wolverhampton Wanderers. Next ball to be plucked out is number 32, Preston North End. Former winners of the Cup. At Deepdale, they get number 46, Charlton Athletic. So this could be an interesting one as well. Number 10 is Chelsea. The Blues will get at Stamford Bridge number 59, and number 59 is Morecambe. Chelsea against Morecambe. Number 24 is Middlesbrough, and the Championship side, and they will get number 4, which is Blackburn Rovers. Famously won the Premier League in 95. Number 1 is AFC Bournemouth. The Cherries, currently mid-table in the Premier League, and at the Vitality Stadium, they host number 42, West Bromwich Albion. Number 55 is Mansfield Town. Top 5 in League One, and they get number 64, which is Wigan Athletic. So an all-League One tie for Mansfield. Number 53 is Tamworth. A side doing really well in the Cup. It'll be interesting to see who they get in the 3rd round. And they are at home to number 40, Tottenham Hotspur. They beat Huddersfield Town in the 1st round. They beat Burton Albion in the 2nd round. Could they do the same to Spurs? Number 16 is the next one out. Hull City, the Tigers in the Championship. At home, they get number 61, Doncaster Rovers, so an all Yorkshire tie between Hull and Doncaster. Number 38 is Sunderland, the Championship side, formerly of the Premier League, and they get number 37, Stoke City, one of Mark's former sides as a manager. Number 19 is Leicester City, recently appointed Ruud van Nistelrooy as manager. The Foxes will host number 33, Queen's Park Rangers. Next ball picked out. Number 5, Brentford. The Bees, top 10 in the Premier League. And at home, they get number 30. Number 30 is Plymouth Argyle. Next ball out. Number 11, Coventry City. Frank Lampard, recently appointed as permanent manager. The 87 winners will get number 35, Sheffield Wednesday. And the next ball pulled out. Number 26, Newcastle United. The Eagles at St James's Park, they will host number 60, which is Bromley, the League Two side. That's the furthest they've been in the cup in their history. Number 14, Everton, playing their last season at Goodison Park. At home, they will get number 56, Peterborough United. So we are now down to the last dozen or so balls. Number 58, Wycombe Wanderers beat Wealdstone at the weekend in a close-run game. And at Adams Park, the Chairboys will host number 31, Portsmouth, twice FA Cup winners, bottom of the Championship. Number 54 is the next ball out, Birmingham City. Birmingham City currently third in League One, and Birmingham will host number 52, Lincoln City. So an all League One tie there. Number 18, Leeds United, doing really well in the Championship, currently second or third. Well, definitely in the top five. And at Elland Road, they get number 63, Harrogate Town. So another all Yorkshire side. Simon Weaver, the Harrogate manager, relatively happy with that. Number 28 is Nottingham Forest. Successful famously under Brian Clough. And they will host number 21, Luton Town. Relegated from the Premier League last season. Number 34, Sheffield United, the Championship leaders. And they host number 9, Cardiff City. And so we are now down to the final 6 balls. Number 17, Ipswich Town. First season back in the Premier League for more than 20 years. And the Tractor Boys will host number 49, Bristol Rovers. Number 15 is Fulham. Again, another side doing well in the Premier League. And Fulham will host number 41, Watford of the Championship. So the final tie looks like being an interesting one. And the home side is number 12, Crystal Palace. And their opponents will be number 57, Stockport County. And so that concludes the draw for the FA Cup third round. Just to remind you that ties will be played on the weekend of Saturday, the 11th of January, or to be more precise, the 10th to the 13th of January. We're now going to go through some of the ties. Let's bring back Russ. Russ, what do you make of the ties that have been put forward for the FA Cup third round?
Some really good ties there, Nicholas, as the ties are going across the bottom of the screen there as well. I'm just going to pick out some of the key ties that, for me, I'd say some of the standout ties, Nicholas, that's just been made. The first of one I'm going to look at is Arsenal against Manchester United, all Premier League affair there. Manchester City taking on Salford City is I would have to say a Manchester derby, because some of the Manchester United side who won the side, who was the likes of Ryan Giggs, Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, all bought shares in Salford City, so that's a Manchester derby. They're Reading against Burnley, League One against Championship, chance of an upset there. Same with Leighton Orient against Derby and Exeter against Oxford. Russell Martin derby, the first one out, Southampton against Swansea. He's now the Southampton boss, is Russell Martin, taking on his former side there. So there's some good ties in that one. If I look at some other ties that's been drawn out as well, Nicholas, a good tie for Accrington Stanley going away to Liverpool in the third round of the FA Cup as well. Morecambe going to Chelsea, that's a really good tie for them as well. Dagenham and Redbridge going to Millwall, that'll be a tasty tie there. Mansfield, which I found interesting, they've not conceded a goal in the FA Cup as of yet, and they have got Wigan Athletic all League One affair there, so we've got at least a League One side going through there in that, from that tie there. On to the next page as well, Tamworth against Spurs, that's another tie that stands out for me. Non-league against Premier League, I think that's got to be one of the games chosen for television in the third round of the FA Cup. Also, Bromley going to Newcastle. Good draw for Bromley there to pay the wits there. Van Lampard's Coventry home to Sheffield Wednesday. All Championship fair there. And just see how Van Lampard's Coventry gets on in that one. Obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester taking on QPR and just see how well he does there. Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game in charge against West Ham for Leicester on Tuesday evening. This coming Tuesday, by the way. So interesting to see how he gets on. They did well in interim charge at Manchester United. Touching on the draw from the last section of the draw as well. Just picking a few from each section there. Nicholas not going through every single one. It's a good draw for my side. Leeds at home against Harrogate. Played them in pre-season. Good test for us that. They'll be interested to see how we get on against them in the FA Cup. No replays, let me point out to our listeners as well. No replays for the FA Cup. Good draw for Stockport County going to Crystal Palace, testing themselves against the big boys. Same with Bristol Rovers going to Ipswich. I think Sheffield United should have enough against Cardiff. Same for Forest against Luton there. And Birmingham should really do enough against Lincoln. Another one which I want to pick out briefly, just quickly, Nicholas. Wickham against Portsmouth. That's going to be a good tie for Wickham against former Premier League side in Portsmouth, now back in the Championship. They've been stuck in League One for quite a while. Nick, I just want to ask you, obviously I know you follow Wickham very closely, so do you reckon for their tie against Portsmouth? And also another team that I know you follow very, very closely as well is Reading. They're up against Burnley as well. What do you make for those two ties, Nicholas? What do you think of their chances of progressing from both of their ties?
Starting with Wickham, I think they'll do well against Portsmouth. I think that I think they've got a more solid foundation. They are the leaders in League One after all. Matt Bloomfield has been a really effective manager since taking over from Gareth Ainsworth. Things were a bit shaky for him to start with, but he has since turned the club around, and everyone works really well under him. So I can't see Wickham losing against Portsmouth on that occasion, but you never know. Reading might have a harder time of it against Burnley, even though they are at home. I'd have to say Scott Parker's Burnley could run them very close. I'd actually be surprised if it didn't go to extra time at least.
Also, Nick, I just want to ask you as well, what do you reckon to Tamworth against Tottenham? Do you reckon, like me, that one could be one of the ties selected for TV coverage in the third round of the FA Cup? Would be non-league against Premier League as well.
I certainly think it will be one of the ties of the competition. Definitely, it could well be something selected for television. But I've also got to point out Leeds against Harrogate. Simon Weaver, the current Harrogate manager, he's managed the side since 2009 and is currently the longest serving current manager of all four teams. So when you think about it, that is quite impressive. That being said, even though they are against the Championship side in Leeds, I don't think Harrogate will be a pushover.
I don't think they will either, Nicholas. We won them, I think it was 2-0 in the end in pre-season. Gave us a really good test there to see where we were at that stage. I know it's a lot different where they are now, but for me, I think it's a really good test to see how far we've come from that game there. So for me, I think it's a really good test for us to take on this Harrogate side, and be interested to see if it's going to be a similar sort of game to what we had in pre-season, or whether it's going to be a tougher test for us. But for me, with the quality that we've got, and we've been an home tie at Ellen Road, and the home form being quite good for us as well, Nicholas, for me, I think much for Simon Weaver's side, but I'm not going to write them off. Because, as we've rightly said, they are a good side, Harrogate, and we are playing some good football this season as well. So I'm not going to write them off, but for me, it's going to be a tough test for us, that's for sure. But I think it's a test where, if I look at it on paper, it's one that we should be winning with the quality of players that we've got in the squad and the quality of players coming back from injury as well, Nicholas. So for me, I think it's something that Leeds should be winning against Harrogate in the FA Cup third round.
Russ is right off. Russ is right off lower league sides at your peril. So plenty to look forward to in the third round. That just about wraps up our coverage of the third round draw in the FA Cup. My thanks to Russ for joining me tonight to give me to give us his insights. I've been Nicholas Jones. I hope you enjoyed our coverage of the draw as much as we did. Have a very good rest of your evening and your week. Take care. Bye bye for now.